Becca. I'm Paige.
I'm Kylie.
I'm Camille.
And this is our Developing Worlds class.
We were going to have a group discussion on the Millennial Development Goal number 1, which is poverty. And
by Han Rosling.
by Han Rosling.
An interesting man.
Yeah, so watch this cool video.
Very good accent.
I think the very first thing that he said was that, if I could understand it correctly, he said that we still have an old mindset of developing, and it's not good. And then he kind of elaborated on the development of other countries and everything. So
yeah, I don't know about you guys, but the chart thing was pretty confusing for me. Like, I don't know. Does anybody have any insight on the charts?
Yeah, he was going pretty fast, but I think what he was trying to show us is that the different ways that countries are developing, some are focusing more on the social aspect and others on the economic, and just kind of how that affected their birth rates.
Well, I think it was saying about like with the social and economic progress, he was kind of like being kind of hypocritical on that, like social progress, like you can accomplish social progress without economic process, but that economic process is more important. And so like it's kind of like, I think what he was saying was that some countries, instead of focusing on economic, try to go for social first, but we should go for economic and then gain the social, because just like kind of like, I'm kind of skipping to the end, but at the end when he was talking about the dimensions of human development, how it was like human rights really isn't that important. I mean, like for goals, it's not. I mean, for means, it's very important, but for goals, he's like economic growth was the most important.
I think it was the opposite way around, actually.
It depends on which category you're in, because the means, like what he was saying was, to get these goals, you have to have economic growth.
Yeah.
Right.
So like he's like saying like in ways of like goals and like saying like we should like find human rights, but like there really are no human rights. Like even in the United States, like you look at poor people or like homeless people, different. So really there still is no human rights without economic growth.
It's true.
you gotta have that first before anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he was trying to say that even though human rights is a really good goal, we have to focus on the economic in order to reach that goal.
I thought it was very cool how positive he was, like his whole like thing of the seemingly impossible is possible, and talking about how Africa, we look at it like, oh, it's so poverty stricken, but if you compare it to like how far it's come in the last like 50 years by itself.
Definitely with like those pictures that he was showing with like it was like $1 to $2 and then $2 to $5 or
I think it's 2 to 3 and then 10 to 50.
And then 10 to 50, like there was such a difference. Like it's just like,
especially in the kitchen, there's like an actual.
Oh my gosh, there was an oven, there was an actual toilet. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure those other shacks probably just had holes in the ground.
Yeah.
Like,
I would say he believed that it was the best in the world because of where they did start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're looking at them, we're looking down on them like, oh my goodness, they're so behind. But initially, they're actually doing really well for where they were.
Well, I felt like kind of taking it back to the first video we watched, Gun, Germs, and Steel. I thought it was way cool to see how like geography plays a huge role, and that like if they don't have the means necessary, like they can't progress. It's not that they're dumber or like you know they like don't have the means to do it.
yeah.
They just like it's geographical in a way.
I thought it was interesting how, he was talking about poverty and how like everything in poverty is about survival. And he was just saying how like some women are just like, get us technology, like get us that, or get us a mill just so we can like use the resources that they have around them so that they can actually do something with it. And
So they can learn.
I thought that was really interesting.
But to get away from poverty is to gain the education so you can earn an income and support that family, I think.
That just made me. Yeah, and what that made me think of like how last class we were talking about how like a celestial perspective with the thing that we did was how instead of just giving them technology, we like a mill or something, like helping them or showing them how to build a well instead of just building a well for them, so that they actually know how to do it instead of just giving them then they have it. They just like teaching them so that they can develop like that.
My question is like how, just kind of like with the geographic thing, how is it possible for them to get out of poverty if they're always in the same situation? Do you know what I mean? Like people are always like, well, they can do it, you know, like this is like possible. But it just seems like even in the United States, with all the things we have, people still don't have what they need, and
We
like,
still seem to be stuck.
and that's like, I guess like what I'm confused about. Like they always say this set the school of like poverty, and it's like I'm not trying to be like negative, but it's like how do you fully teach someone how to change when it's like they don't have the resources even available?
Yeah.
And it's like, how do we not give it to them? Like, how do we just say, oh, you have to learn how, but like they're kind of like, well, how do we do it? It's just like a little baby, like, okay, go ahead and walk, but like you don't like teach it how or like pick it up and like show like the steps.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be like a process to where like maybe we don't like give them food all the time so that they rely on it, because I think that's what a lot of people do in the United States.
Yeah.
But it's just like I think we need to first show them how, do you know what I mean? And like then maybe give them the resources so that they can do it.
Yeah.
I think helping them establish economies, and then I thought it was interesting that the diamond miners in Africa don't even know how much things are selling in the European countries and here. And I think if we were to be more fair with resources around the world, I think there would be a lot of improvement.
I think it's hard though. We're like, I know America's not necessarily in poverty. I mean, there may be some bits of it, but like compared to the other countries. But how are we supposed to help other countries if I don't feel like we've got it all down ourselves?
Yeah, I still feel
That's
like
the
we're in
thing.
a state of like, where do we go now kind of thing.
Especially with our whole government, like everything government, and wanting to have those human rights, and everybody wanting things for themselves. How are we supposed to help these other countries that are in like poverty? How are we supposed to even help them with the things that are happening?
Well, I think in like you know, we were talking about the three power struggles, basically like the core, the semi-peripheral, and the peripheral. Like how, I mean, it talks about how the core will do anything it takes to get powerful. Like even if it means like shoving somebody down. And I think like, I'm not saying this will ever happen, but if the world could be perfect, like if we could all just like accept like a certain lifestyle, like say maybe we like get a certain amount of clothes and like certain, you know, like
A lot of conservation.
yeah, well like, and not like communism, like but it's just like maybe like just like I was thinking about that the other day. Like we were going shopping at a grocery store, and it's like what would you do if like you just bought someone groceries and it's just like gave it to someone, and it's just like that small act. And like I just think a lot of people in the world don't think that way, and that's like the nice thing about the church is we do think that way. But a lot of people just want that power so much and that greed that they don't look at anybody else.
America definitely has the attitude of more, like it just never stops in a way.
It's just like what he said. He was like, the USA is on the money side.
Yeah.
Did say
on
that.
the richest side of things.
Yeah.
Which is true. I mean,
And we do have much greater health, because I would say, like with the Philippines in 2007, like they're at the health that America was in 1957. Something I took note of, and it's just like, wow, like you got to look at it and just be like, the improvement is crazy. So they're definitely.
I thought it was kind of funny how they were talking about like the CO2, like and how the emerging economy in places is giving out too much CO2 and causing a climate change.
Yeah.
Just
Like,
like
if you don't have the climate, then your future kids or whatever won't have a good environment.
He's
It's
just
like
like, this needs to be changed.
you can't have that idea of thinking.
There's something about how the countries with the higher CO2 or different CO2 that had CO2 were more developed though. I can't remember. That was just
I
my
couldn't tell
misinterpretation.
from his accent.
I heard that we were taking up, like people, they're taking up or giving out too much CO2 for the economy to keep up.
Too much.
Poverty is like a super sad thing though. Just like I don't know, like in a celestial perspective, you know how we're told that we're given, like we're born in a certain place, and like it's just sad that like I feel bad almost that like I was born here, I'm given pretty much everything I need, and I'm like mad when my phone breaks, and it's like somebody like every day is like, I need food, I need something, and it's like you feel so helpless because you're like, what can I even do about it? Because like
I think like maybe God even maybe just knew that like they'd be able to handle that in a way, you know.
I
Like,
hope so.
I know.
If that makes sense.
Sometimes I don't think I can
like
handle this.
it's probably really hard for them, but they probably have such good like spirit.
They're known. That's the thing. It's like in a traditional perspective, it's something they've done. This is something that they know. They don't necessarily know what we have, or like they may know, but they don't know what it's like, and they don't understand it. So it's like that's what they're used to. That's their thing. So that's their way of life. They don't know anything else.
Like we've been given so much that like when it's taken away, it's what happened? Like, you know, like, and it's like we get angry, like, you know. So it's definitely two different sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, but I do like how he ends with the seemingly impossible is possible, and here we think it's impossible to get poverty out, like because we can't even do things on our own. But hey,
well, and I think like I think it's just like what the church does. Like I mean, the little things like the education, like like that they like send missionaries out through families, and I don't know. We probably can't fix the whole world, but we can do it one step at a time.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
every ear, every nation.
Well, I was gonna say the sword swallowing at the end was disgusting.
That was kind of. I was afraid that something else is gonna happen after.
He just bleeds out on
I
stage.
didn't figure it was all that long. But.
Yeah, made me a little nervous, but that's what we got from the video.
Hopefully it's informational to you.
Remember,
To us.
the impossible is possible.
Yes.